Welcome to the Finish Line Formula with Run Coach Lindsay. We're here today to talk about the secrets of base training with running.
Yeah, so base training is essentially the training that you do outside of your peak, training plan and racing season. So it's going to be that mileage you're putting in oftentimes in the summer and winter when there's a little less racing happening.
Yeah, so what is the main point or purpose of base training with running?
The main purpose is exactly how it sounds. So you're building a base or a foundation. So think of it kind of like a pyramid. You know, you're building that base, and so that peak can be a little bit higher when you're racing and going into those more competitive events.
So the bigger the base, the faster you're going to run?
Yes, but in an arbitrary way, that's going to vary for each person. So that doesn't mean go out and run 100 miles a week when you haven't run in 3 months. But if you can build a nice, strong foundation, then you have a higher potential of achieving a higher level of goals when it comes to your races.
How long a base should you have? I guess it depends on each event. So
Absolutely.
For an 800 versus a marathon's obviously a lot different, but is there a goal of how long, how often during a year you should do a base training to try to get stronger, build a bigger foundation?
Yeah, I would say the goal of any runner should be to try and run year round. So, that can vary from 3 to 4 days a week to 6 or 7, depending on the time of year and the racing and stuff. But that should be the goal. And so the base training, really at a minimum should probably be like 6 to 12 weeks. And then you're looking at, that would be, around a quarter of time if you're going 12 into 16 and then building into, a 12 to 16 week full on training plan. And that may incorporate one big race or a few smaller races.
I know with some of the athletes I've worked with and coaching, they want to race so often and they have to look and be like, okay, but the longest you go without a race is 2 months. When are we going to get better or build a better base? And so how do you do that with your clients to try to schedule races to make sure there's set times to build base, or even before the base, have a recovery time to stay healthy?
Yeah, I think it of course varies. Like if you're talking about a marathoner, we can't do 3 or 4 marathons in a singular build. So
You can.
I suppose you can. You probably shouldn't. And then, with half marathons, like maybe that incorporates more 5Ks in the training and that type of stuff. So it certainly varies on race distance and even like running history. If, like us, we've been running for 20 some years. So like us building into a training plan would be a little bit quicker and easier because of our history. Whereas if you're a new runner, that may need to be a little bit longer to help you get accustomed to running multiple days a week and like getting to a point where walking doesn't have to be included and you're only running. So, of course, for, high school students, college, post-collegiates that are training for track and stuff like that, their base has to be pretty long because they do race more frequently. And so, again, like you said, if you're doing a lot of races, then you're not able to get that sort of mileage in like you can during the base phase.
So when you're building base phase, so you're trying to get more endurance, would say, and so how much are you increasing your endurance, your mileage, your workouts? What are you increasing? How are you increasing that to try to build a stronger base with running?
The first few weeks are usually going to be like a 15 to 20% increase. So, starting at, just a very basic set amount of mileage, and that may vary, between 10 miles a week to 35 for most people, somewhere in that range. And then you're going to have those jumps, particularly with the long run. So the long run is always going to keep growing. And then, the weekly mileage will grow a little bit. But once you've gotten into, 6 to 8 weeks of that real basic level base training, then that's when that increase is going to change to about a 10% increase. Just because you're introducing more volume, you're probably starting to introduce more intensity and workouts and stuff, whereas everything else has been very like aerobically based and endurance focused.
Yeah, when I'm building out training plans and building the base, I'm kind of looking at what am I picking to increase? All right, so our mileage is going to go up, or maybe I'm adding strength training, or maybe this week I'm adding the first workout or an endurance run. or an extra day of running. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to keep the rest of the week the same, but you're going to have one less off day, and that's going to be your increase this week. Okay, the next week, the one thing I'm going to add is having the last 3 miles of a long run be at tempo pace or progression. So kind of picking slowly, choosing what to increase each week to keep people healthy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And again, it looks different for different people. So it's really important to invest in the areas that you're weakest in. And so base training can be a great time to introduce strength training too. Like when you're thinking of your base, it's not all just running. Like you've really got to focus on that core work and strength work. It's a great time to start with body weight exercises, mastering the skill of the lift, and then being able to incorporate more weight. And then as that intensity and that mileage increases, the weight itself might increase, but the amount of reps or like the longevity of the workout might decrease.
So during base training, do you like having down weeks or recovery weeks to have breaks in there, or are you against it? What's your kind of thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think down weeks are really important, and they're easier to incorporate during the base level than they are in the peak amount of season, just because, you know, if you are doing multiple races, or even for a marathon, if you're doing a 10K and then a half and then a marathon during that training plan, it's a little harder to have a down week that doesn't have a race in it. So utilizing the down week during the base phase can be really helpful for that recovery and injury prevention. So typically I recommend 5 to 6 weeks of build and then a down week during that initial base phase. Once workouts are being introduced and that intensity is increasing, I usually recommend more like a 4-week rotation. So down weeks are going to be an easier week, and that's when you may remove a workout or make it easier. You might drop the long run down a little bit. You might add in an extra off day or a cross training day instead of a run day. All of that sort of stuff can be included in a down week, and it's just an opportunity for your body to reset a little bit when you've been building, get a little bit of extra recovery, but also just give yourself a mental break. So, what are your thoughts on the mental side of a down week?
My number one thing I always have in a down week is an extra day off. So whether that's someone runs 7 days a week, they only run 6 days, or 4 or 3, because that extra day, it feels so special to them that it's a big boost to the morale and keeping them healthy. So that's one thing. Do that more than necessarily cut all the mileage and stuff. So I always try to give that extra day off for them is probably the biggest thing I like to see in a down week. So when you're building base training, is there a certain workout you recommend, like doing, or stay away from workouts? What's your thoughts?
In the initial phase of base training, I always say stay away from workouts. Just let it become a habit again. You know, a lot of times base training occurs after a big race. You've taken a break. You've gotten, this time off. And so just reintroducing the body to the habit of running regularly is really important. And so those runs are supposed to be easy, conversational, like zone 3, zone 4 heart rate zones. Just very comfortable, and a lot of times it'll feel not great and your pace might be slower, and it's just because your body is genuinely having to get used to doing this again. So it's not necessarily reflective of your fitness, but just like anything, it's your body getting used to a change. And so typically I don't recommend workouts in those early few weeks, just letting yourself build into it and mentally be prepared for workouts to be reintroduced, because if you just come in guns a-blazing, you're much more likely to face injury.
Well, and I just thinking through, I think that's why it's so important to have a running coach to help you get to the next level, because outside perspectives, I see a lot of different people, coached a lot of different people, so everyone's different. Because I was thinking through, I have one person I'm coaching now. We're really in the beginning of base phase, but she has to have a workout in there, or she runs a recovery runs all so fast
because she feels so good.
She feels so good, and just feels like missing that speed side of things and stuff. So for me, it's how do I make it a slow workout and as long a workout as possible, but to have that workout in there so the recovery runs are slow.
So what are some of the workouts that you're using with her?
Oh, I try to get them on hilly places as much as I can. More on hills, it's going to slow people down, get them stronger. So strength, I'm always thinking this side of the year, as much strength during base training phase
Yeah.
as much strength as possible. So if we're going to get stronger on hills, it's going to slow the pace down because I would prefer slower paces and stuff. So yeah, up tempo over hills, pick a hilly route, recovery run on every part of it, run faster on the hills can definitely slow that down, but get them feeling like they're getting a workout in too. So
yeah, and that's a deceiving workout because it is so hard.
it's so hard. It's
Mentally,
slows down.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's not hard on the body like an intense workout is. I know progression runs are ones that we both really like.
Progression runs another one. The well, when we coach college too, we would always start with up tempo over hills. The first workout back with all the athletes. Number one, because you can't fake if you're in shape. But number two, everyone wants to go show how good they are. The first workout back, look at all my summer miles. So they would run it too hard. So you get on a hilly route, then they can't run it as fast. We limits the damage you can do during that early part of the season. So
yeah, for sure. I think it makes sense. And I would say, aside from the exceptions where somebody may just need a workout to mentally stay focused, like most people should probably not have one and just let that base be a base. And then when you start introducing workouts, then they can be things like the up tempo over hills, the progressions, and slowly work into things like tempos and fartleks and interval type stuff. But we discussed the down week, and the down week is especially important when the workouts are getting introduced. But you and I both know what a down week feels like, and it can be really, really tough on the body. It's really opposite of what you expect, kind of like the up tempo over hills. Like you expect it to be easy, but it's not. And same with the down week. So what's your take on down weeks?
I like adding down weeks for the mental break, but I think one thing to just keep in mind, and I always tell people, you are going to, especially the second half of the down week, you're not going to feel good. And you're going to be like, I don't feel good. Why? And stuff. I should feel really good. It's just your body recouping, recovering. So it's really good. So the second half of the down week into the first next week, you're going to feel kind of sluggish, but then by the end of that next week, you're going to be like, okay, I feel really good. I'm ready to attack. So I like to just tell my athletes that up front of hand. Yeah. That way they're prepared, ready to go, and it's not a shock to them.
Yeah. One of the weird things that I always had a lot on down weeks was I would get like a little cold. Like I just get runny nose, like headache, weird things. And truly it's just an opportunity for your body to recover. And I think that recovery is so important when you are in the middle of a build on that base, because it is really hard on your body to just continually be building mileage and intensity, and like your volume is just increasing and increasing. So I think the down week can be really helpful for injury prevention and even just like the mental side of recovering, like letting yourself have that break. Yeah.
Do you do strides or recommend strides during down weeks?
Always recommend strides. Okay. 24/7, 365, like always do strides. Always be striding. Let's start that hashtag.
Well, and the reason always doing strides, it's easier to maintain your speed than rebuild speed.
Yeah.
So less chance of injury. So if you can just always keep those strides going.
One thing I really like about strides, especially in the base phase, one, it makes you feel a little quicker, which is nice. You're doing something outside of the normal, easy, aerobic effort. But it's also a really good way to fine tune your form. So, really taking that time, you've gone for a longer, easy run and your form has stayed the same the whole time. Your pace probably hasn't varied. It just allows your body to open up that gait cycle and do the muscle memory work of proper form, because sometimes it's easy to let your form break down when you're just running easy all the time. So love strides. They're great. It's not really like an anaerobic effort in the sense that you're getting the heart rate up for an extended period of time, but it is enough anaerobic touch to just get a little speed in there, activate some of those muscles that we may not have touched on an easy run.
Post long run strides, always do them.
That's the best. And core.
And core. Yeah, I forget that one. So kind of end on this last question. What's the things not to do during your base?
Yeah, I mean, it's a short list, I would say. Get creative with your base training. Be bold, do the mileage, get the work in. The two things that I would say don't do is skip your long run. Ever, never, ever skip your long run. We get it. We have kids. Like, life happens, and occasionally you're going to miss a run here and there. You're going to have to cut a run a little bit short. It happens, and that's part of life. But don't skip the long run. The long run is so important. So that's a really big one, and I would say don't push too hard in the base phase. in your effort. So the mileage can increase, you can really invest in the long run, but make sure you're keeping that heart rate under zone 5. You're not, getting really intense, because that your body just can't handle so much volume and so much intensity increasing all at once. So keep the base easy, let it be what it is, so that that peak can really build when it's at its time.
Too slow over being too fast.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep it easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you today for spending time on some base training.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at RunCoachLindsay. Message me to set up your free coaching consultation if you want to talk more about the importance of a base or want some help building it out this